Hello, Pisces, and welcome to this, your May 1st through May 15th reading. We're going to look at some influential energies, figure out what's going on in your life, make some predictions. This reading is directed at anybody born under the sign of Pisces, as well as anybody with a significant amount of Pisces in their chart. For those of you who are returning, you may notice a little bit of a different background here. My son and I are in the process of moving, so we're in a temporary location. You might also notice, poor choice in color of clothing today, as I kind of look like I'm glowing blue. I don't know, maybe that's just the color that I get after moving during a month with eclipses and Mercury going retrograde. So now that we can put that behind us, let's have a look and pull some cards here, Pisces. For those of you who are new here, I work with a number of different decks, including oracle cards and tarot cards. And as I pull the cards, I leave them face down until I'm actually ready to turn them over and read them. And in so doing, I have the ability to allow more of the psychic and intuitive energies to bubble up within me rather than me seeing what's already coming up and predicted in the cards. And this at times can give the reading more weight and more significance. Okay. Just tap into your energy here, Pisces, and we're going to start with cards of where you are at now. All right. Oh my goodness, the cards are just flying this morning already. We have a card sticking out on the top. Not sure if it's going to tuck its way back in there or if it's going to actually fall out. I do prefer to deal with cards that jump out or fall out rather than dealing with cards that I pull. So we do have two cards here for where you're at now. Hey, Pisces, the next cards that we're going to pull for you are cards of what you are focusing on. Pisces, what are the Pisces focusing on May 1st through May 15th, 2023? Okay, we've got only one card out so far. Is there anything else for the Pisces? What else are the Pisces focusing on? Okay, so I just have one card here. Let me just set this deck down for just a moment. Is there anything else that the Pisces are focusing on? Okay, it's going to be one of the Oracle decks. Which one? Let's narrow it down here, guys. You're directing me to all three. Pisces, focus. Over here. Okay, we're going to pull at least one more card for your focus. Okay. All right. Ooh, that one jumped out. Let's just go through the rest of the deck here, Pisces, and we will see if there's anything else, but I suspect that that card that jumped out was probably the one that was intended for you that I could see in my mind's eye. Okay. The next cards that we're going to pull for you, Pisces, are cards that are your difficult influences. What is your difficult influences at this time? I've got two decks over here. Difficult influences for the Pisces. Okay, we're going back to my old tarot cheater deck. All right. Are there difficult influences for the Pisces May 1st through May 15th, 2023? Whoa, look how messy this is. Everybody's cards have been so messy this month. Right, let's go back through this deck one more time. There we go. Difficult influences. All right, now the cards are talking. Okay, so sometimes what can happen is if the cards that are intended to come out are either right at the top or right at the bottom of the deck, sometimes they don't flip out. So you have to go through the deck a second time, which is fine. All right. So that card came out first, second, third. Okay. The next card that we're going to pull for you, Pisces, is a card that just makes sense. Now, the card that just makes sense is, it has two meanings. So the first one is oftentimes the card that just makes sense has the identical meaning to another card in your reading, thus giving you that sort of double reinforcement that you need to pay close attention to those energies. The other thing that can happen is it's not really happening today for you, Pisces, but sometimes I'll be shuffling the cards and we'll end up with 7 or 8 cards here and 7 or 8 cards there and another 9 cards over here. And so what can happen is your reading can become quite disjointed until we turn over the this makes sense cards, and all of a sudden that, 1 or 2 cards will pull the whole reading together. So where are we going for this makes sense? For whatever reason this month, that almost every single zodiac sign has had this makes sense come from this deck. And I'm not quite sure why, but they just want to clarify things this month from this deck. Right, this makes sense for Pisces. Okay, it might make me, whoops. All right. That, okay, 3 cards come out. Okay. Okay. The next card that we're going to pull for you, Pisces, are cards of unexpected influences. This is one of my favorite cards to pull. I always like to find out what's unexpected. I love surprises. Unexpected influences and insights for Pisces, May 1st through May 15th, please. What is unexpected? And again, we've got this situation where we've got, there we go. See, this is what happens, Pisces, is the card was kind of at the wrong end of the deck. And so when I started shuffling again, it immediately jumped out. Is there anything else unexpected for Pisces? Oh, there's another one. Okay. We have 2 cards that have come out for you in unexpected. And the final cards that we're going to pull for you, Pisces, are the cards of your general overall outcome. Now, the general overall outcome cards are the cards that predict or project what's going to be influencing you and what's going to be going on right around the middle of the month, right around May 15th. General overall outcome for Pisces. We've got 2 cards that have jumped. Is there anything else for the general overall outcome for Pisces? Yep, we got one more. Is there anything else? Anything else? Yep, one more. There we go. Okay, so it's interesting the way that the cards came out. I have one card that landed on my lap. The first 2 cards that came out, the final card came out and landed directly on top of those. So I'm going to read these in a different way. Also, I want to note that this card came out in reverse. The final card came out in reverse and it jumped on top of the first 2 cards. So I'm going to read these as sort of the one card being a little bit separate from the others. I think that we have a situation here, Pisces, where I have not turned any of the cards over. All of the cards at this point in time are upside down, so I can't see what any of the cards are. But I think what I'm going to do here for you, Pisces, is, oops, let me just move that back. There we go. What I'm sensing is that there's actually going to be 2 outcomes to your reading. And I have not seen the cards, but I'm predicting that one of the outcomes is going to be sunshine and roses and rainbows and butterflies. And the other one is going to be kind of a little bit more cloudy and gray. This is my prediction. Like I said, I have not seen these cards. They're upside down. But I'm suspecting that what's going to come up in your reading is that there's one of two ways that things can go. So I am going to keep the one card off to the side and read them as if there are two separate outcomes. Now, when something like this happens, Pisces, it's because you have your free will in order to be able to change what the outcome is based on the decisions that you make and the actions that you take in the coming days. So where you are at now, you have the 5 card, the Unity card here. And you have the Release card, the 13 card. This is the equivalent to the Death card in the traditional tarot. And if I'm not mistaken, I just have to confirm this, but I do believe that the 5 is the equivalent to the Hierophant in the traditional tarot. I'm a little bit rusty on this, but I'm being honest. So let me just check my chart, my handy chart here. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, no, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, it is the Hierophant. Sorry about that, Pisces. So I do like to be honest with my clients and let them know that there are 78 cards in a tarot deck, and then I work with oracle cards as well, and also different tarot decks have different meanings, like this one, calling it Unity rather than calling it the Hierophant. But I do like to draw that similarity between them. So the 5 card is the equivalent to the Hierophant in the traditional tarot, and the 13 card is the equivalent to the Death card in the traditional tarot. But given that I pulled these cards for you, Pisces, from the fairy deck, I will read them as they have their meanings in the fairy deck. So the Unity card. This is a card of where you're at now. And the Unity card is about finding that balance, doing the right thing for the right reasons. And the Unity card is about questioning why we do the things that we do. And do they ring true for us? Do we do the things we do because it's tradition? Whether that rings true for us and sits in our hearts properly and with resonance, or whether some of our traditions no longer serve our highest good. So Pisces, this card is indicating that where you're at right now is beginning to question, do the traditions that I was raised with still serve my highest good? Do the traditions that I was raised with still resonate with me? Okay. This is a card of really starting to dig deep. Now, the card that you have here right next to it is the Release card. It's the equivalent to the Death card, as I mentioned. And this is a card of letting go of the past. This is a card of letting go of that which no longer serves you. And what the Death card is there are other cards in the deck that indicate change, but they indicate change on your terms and your timeline. And there are 2 cards in the tarot that indicate change that's on the universe's terms and the universe's timeline. The Death card is one of them, and the other one is the Tower card. And you've got this one. So this is an indication that as you are doing this work, the universe is saying, you might not be doing this work quickly enough to satisfy the universe. And so they're going to kind of force a change upon you. Okay. Something is going to come up where you're going to question traditions, where you're going to question morals, and you're still going to be in the process of processing that and deciding, does this tradition, does this moral still ring true with me? And the universe is going to go make a decision now, like right now. Okay. So yeah, this is where you're at right now, Pisces, and this makes sense. Now, a lot of people look at the Death card and they immediately go, "Whoop." Scary. In actual fact, the death card is a welcome card in many people's lives, especially if they are seeking change. And I do suspect that based on these two cards coming up, if you have the unity card coming up and you're exploring old traditions and that type of thing, then you're at that point where you're going to welcome change. Okay, for some people don't want change. Change is scary. For other people, change is a very, very welcome thing. So we're going to look at what you're focusing on. Now, this is where I was called upon to pull two cards from two different decks. The first card that you got is the Isolation card, and this card is the equivalent to the Three of Swords in the traditional tarot. Now, the Three of Swords in the traditional tarot, if you're familiar with the pictures that are on it, the Three of Swords shows up as a heart, as a heart with three swords sticking through it. Okay. And what that represents is this idea that we need to pull back, go within ourselves. Perhaps somebody in our midst is not being honest with us. And we need to really explore what's true and what's right and what's real for us. And honestly, Pisces, this is a confirmation of this unity card. So this is the card of where you're at now while I'm doing this reading here at the end of April, going into May. And this is a card of what you're focusing on. So you are continuing to do the work of the Hierophant and the work of the unity, the work of going deep, looking within, what works for you and what doesn't. So for example, okay, I'm going to get political here, but I'm not really being political. For example, for the Americans that are out there, and I'm just going to use the American political model as an example, but it goes for anybody on the planet who is familiar with their own federal governmental systems. But probably one of the most familiar ones on the planet is the American system, where they have the Democrats and they have the Republicans. Now, some of the work that's being done under this unity card and this Hierophant card, and again in this Isolation card, is the work of my dad voted Democrat or my dad voted Republican. My grandfather voted Republican. My grandfather always voted Democrat, whatever way you go. I mean, like I said, I'm not making this into a political thing. I'm not swinging it one way or the other. I'm using this purely as an example that we explore our traditions and we determine what works for us. So if our great-great-grandparents voted one way, and so our grandparents voted one way, and then our parents voted one way. And then when we turned 18, we began to vote that way. And we never, ever, ever questioned it. And now all of a sudden today in 2023, we're going, wait a minute, why did I vote for this way? Or wait a minute, why did I vote that way? Does that resonate with me? Why am I following a tradition from 100 years ago today if that political party doesn't align with my belief systems? Okay, these are the big questions that are coming up for you, Pisces. And in order to really, truly find the answers, you're going to go into this state of isolation. Okay, this is the card in the minor arcana that is the equivalent to the Hermit card. It's about pulling back, going within ourselves, and determining what's true and what's right and what's real for us, not what's right and real for our grandparents 100 years ago, and we're just continuing to do it. That is the work of these two cards. So here's your double reinforcement. Let's see what the other cards are coming up. The other card that you have in your focus here, Pisces, is in the flow. And this is a card of, while you're doing this hard work, and this is hard work, when you are questioning everything, you need to kind of put the rest of your life in auto zone, right? It's in automatic. Allow the rest of your life to flow, allow the routines to keep going, while at the same time integrating these big, deep questions. And like I said, with the Three of Swords, you might find that some of this difficult work, this Hierophant type work, feels like you've been stabbed in the heart because it doesn't resonate with you. And if you feel that way, it's time to let go of the past. Oh, right. You have this 13 card here, this release card. This is a card of let go of the past. Okay. All right. You have, interesting. You have 2 cards in the reverse position here, and you have 1 card in the upright position in your difficult influences. You have the 6 of Cups in reverse, and this is a card of make changes. Okay, make changes. You need to secure your residence, secure your business. There's change on the horizon, and so you need to be making some changes. Like I said, this is my old cheater deck when I was first learning tarot. So yeah, this is a card in the reverse, and this is in your difficult influences. So again, you've got significant change indicated here with this card, and in your difficult influences, you've got, you need to be making changes to secure your future. You also have here the 4 of Pentacles in reverse. This is a card of trying to make things happen prematurely. So trying to run before you're able to walk. Okay. So what this card is telling me for you, Pisces, is that just because you resolved one issue in the area of unity or the Hierophant, just because you got clear in your mind about one thing, one tradition, one moral that no longer serves your highest good, doesn't mean that you can go out and jump on your soapbox and start preaching to others. This is what's coming up for me, that the timing is not right for you to be out there shouting your message. This new awakening that's happening right now is not the time for you to be going out there and shouting the message. Now, the final card that you have in your difficult influences is the 3 of Cups, and this is a card of celebration. In fact, in this particular deck, in the Osho Zen deck, the 3 of Cups is represented by celebration. These cards have one word at the bottom that describe them, and this particular card corresponds to celebration. There's no two ways about that. So what this is telling me, because it came up in your difficult influences, Pisces, what this is telling me is that you're having difficulty right now celebrating things. You're having difficulty getting really, really happy and joyful about this stuff, okay? About these changes that you're going through, and this isolation as well. I mean, who wants to celebrate isolation, right? Actually, some of us do celebrate isolation. It is a wonderful blessing to have the opportunity to be able to go within and take time for ourselves. But anyway, so what this card is telling me is that you need to be celebrating things, but you're struggling against it. You're going, I shouldn't be celebrating this because I just realized that, I've been voting one way, going back to that example that I used. Oh, I've been voting this one way my whole life, and I never really understood why, and I don't know why. But now is the time to actually celebrate. Put the past behind you. That's where it belongs, Pisces. Put it behind you, and then celebrate. Cards that make sense for you. Right. So you're navigating something new. And when you're navigating something new, it can seem big and huge and intimidating. And look at all these stars out there. And oh my goodness, when you begin to explore the Hierophant and these morals and changes, you all of a sudden open up to a whole new universe. Okay, so you are definitely navigating something new. Snake, what did I say over and over and over again in this reading so far? Shed the past, let go of the past. You need to let go of old traditions, old morals that no longer rest with you. Now, that's not to say that you can't hold on to some of those old traditions and morals, providing that they still resonate with you, Pisces. But if they're no longer resonating with you, let them go, the same way that the snake lets go of its skin when it decides to grow and become bigger. The final card that you have is this detachment card, this island card. This card, remember what I said, the cards that just make sense oftentimes have the same meaning as other cards. Island, detachment, pull back, isolation, go within and really get clear, right? Many of us take vacations in order to get clear on our decisions that we need to make. And here you go. All right, Pisces. Oh, wow. In your unexpected insights and influences, you have two, not one, two of the happiest cards in the entire tarot deck. You have the 10 of Cups. 10 of Cups, happy, happy celebration. Oh my goodness, over the top contentment, love, things going your way. And you have the Sun. And the Sun not only represents good things, things going your way, great weather, but it also represents great health. So, I mean, absolutely fantastic. More energy to do the things you want to do. I mean, I can't say anything about these two cards other than positivity, positivity, positivity. All right. Let's have a look at your final overall outcome here, Pisces. Now, as I mentioned, there are two piles of cards here. One is a single card, right? Okay, so you have the Four of Swords here. This is the card that came out by itself. And remember, I said I sensed that there was going to be two different outcomes here for you based on your decisions. So you have a choice. When you exit this isolation, when you exit this detachment and decide to get off this island because you've made your decisions and you're ready to make these changes and you know, come more out of your shell, then there are two ways you can go. For some of you, I'm going to go back to that example again. For some of you, you're going to lament the fact that you made certain decisions in the past based on traditions that didn't resonate with you. And so you have a choice. Either you can lament that and stand at a window and stare outside and keep yourself isolated and go within and go, oh, I've ruined things because I did something in the past. Or you can come into awareness. With this particular card, notice how you have a shadowy figure in the background, and in the foreground here, you have the birthing of a new, more beautiful spirit and soul. This is what's coming up for you when you make these changes. Now, remember what I said, that cards often repeat messages. Let's go all the way back to what you were focusing on. Your focus for May 1st through May 15th, Pisces, in the flow. Want to talk about confirmation? Your outcome, going with the flow. Okay. Now, this card is the card that corresponds to the Ace of Cups in the traditional tarot. And I can tell you, this is a beautiful card because it's a card of new beginnings. When you come into this awareness, when you kind of rebirth yourself based on your own beliefs and traditions, new beginnings. Going with the flow while at the same time implementing your new beginnings. You do have one other card here. It did come up in the reverse with these other two cards. This is the Mind card. Now, this way, this card is kind of negative. It's about being all caught up in your thoughts and not in your heart center or your solar plexus tapping in. You got it in reverse with these two cards. What does that mean? It means that you're finally at that place, Pisces, where you're getting out of your mind You're getting out of all of these thoughts and you're really, really tapping into your soul center. And this is a beautiful card to leave off your reading here. So thank you so much for being here. I hope that this resonated with you, and I hope you'll join me again in mid-May for your next reading. Bye-bye.